Can I get?
Yes.
How many of you had ever come close to hearing the phrase, "Oh, that darn blue shell," or "Ah, why are you camping? That's kind of cheating," or "Dude, like I got game over"? Show of hands. Okay, great, good. So a lot of people here are well renowned with the world of gaming. And you know, video games are becoming a growing sensation of our new society. However, throughout the years, the media has always given them such negative aspects, such as causing violent behavior or even just being a worthless distraction or a waste of time in general. However, not many people bring up the positives that video games bring to us. In fact, my claim today is that video games have a positive and beneficial impact to our society. They can enhance multiple skills, have positive impacts on our society, and can dismantle aggressive or even dangerous behavior. So again, as I said, video games can enhance a lot of skills that are actually helpful in real life. In fact, because video games have a lot of, especially action-based ones, have a lot of high demands and quick thinking that you are required to do, one simple one can increase solving, planning, estimation, analysis, problem-solving skills, quick decision-making, and neurogenesis, which is the growth rate of your neurons. So that is very important. And so you might be wondering, though, how do any of those apply to a real-life situation? Well, as I was going throughout researching, I found a nice little article, and unfortunately, while this little kid, only like 12 years old, he was driving with his grandma, but she had a cardiac arrest while driving. And so in most cases, that would have ended very badly. However, in a matter of 6 seconds, the boy was able to first attempt to wake her up, and when that didn't work, he was able to hold onto the wheel and drive to safety. And both when the researchers asked him or interviewed him, he himself accredited to video games, and the scientists confirmed that because of the dexterity increase and the problem-solving skills they help increase, he was able to do that in a safe manner. So yes, video games can help you in real-life situations if you play them enough. And so my second proposition also is that they help social improvement and society. Now, a lot of video games are marked as being socially destructive. So how can they possibly help us have a social impact on society? Well, actually, now modern day gaming is focused on having multiplayer or even allows chatting. And so these new games allow a growth of new communities that are rising up, and no matter how shy the person is, they share a common goal with the people they're playing and help enable them to join communities and social behaviors. And now, on a more global note, the video games in the United States has helped the economy extremely well. In fact, according to the data recently compiled by the NPD Group, which is a global market research association, in 2008, U.S. video game console software sales reached 8.9 billion, and computer game sales were 701.4 million. And that is a lot to help to our economy. And not only just sales, but they also give hundreds and thousands of people jobs to work for. In our tough recession, we always need this, and yet they are able to, California game companies have provided $1.8 billion in direct and indirect employee compensation. And so also lastly, it helps the technology to grow at a rapid rate, because we all know of the well-known Nintendo and the Sony and the Microsoft and the PC gaming wars. There's a high demand to increase technology and to see what they can do and to how they can push it more and more. And so that also helps our society. And lastly, gaming can actually dismantle dangerous and aggressive behavior. Now, once again, the media often says that violent video games, or even non-violent video games, can cause aggression. However, the Massachusetts General Hospital stated that playing violent video games allows adolescent people to express aggression and establish status in peer group without causing physical harm. And just to elaborate on that, what they're saying is that no matter how aggressive the person is, it's a safe way to implement it. Like, I'd rather have someone either fighting, like beating up a person in a video game, rather than finally blowing off in real life, or just having a shootout in real life, when they can just do it in a game and dismantle all that aggressive behavior that they're holding in. And also, video games, the most important thing about them is that they can take the stress away, and that's pretty much why we enjoy playing them so much. They just take us off to a faraway land that just helps us get away from the daily stresses of life. In fact, video games are used commonly when to distract the pain that cancer patients have to go through. Because they have leukemia, they can't really do that many physical activities. However, they're still able to have enough strength to play video games and still have an enjoyable time and allow them to still have an entertaining time with themselves. And it also helps prevent depression and can even stop suicidal thoughts. As I was looking through more information, I came across this really nice, uplifting public forum, and it just has story. I can't go into detail because I don't have enough time, but there's just so many stories of how video games have stopped drug addictions or even have caused a blockade of suicides. This one person named Kyle used something as simple as Minecraft to stop him from being addicted to heroin. So, in conclusion, video games suffer an unfair stereotype that has been formed, and the reality with the benefits greatly outweigh their negatives. They enhance skills, improve social standings, and help society prosper. Thank you.
Right, well, the proposition that you have at the beginning has two parts. There is positive and beneficial. I think you need a singular term for that. The contents are previewed, but that preview is presented, and I don't know that anybody knew that it was the preview until you got to the secondary claims, which you labeled pretty clearly, and then there was an echo that that was in fact what you had talked about before. I think you need to be a little bit more explicit about that to make it easier for people to follow the arguments. You do a little bit of background to try and just justify that there's a controversy on this point, and I thought that was probably enough to make your position clear. That you signpost the secondary claims when you get to them. Well, I should say the second and the third one were pretty clear. The first one, it really felt like it needed to be underlined and highlighted a little bit more. Generally, you have good explanations of your arguments internally. I do think, though, that there are some places where you're relying on some pretty big assertions. The idea, for instance, that those communities online are providing some social benefit. My guess is, and I'm speaking as an outsider, not a gamer, because I did not recognize all those terms. I heard game over before, but I did not recognize all those other terms that you were talking about. My guess is that the social interaction that goes on while people are playing games is probably not the kind of social interaction that builds close and tight relationships. I don't know for sure, but F you in your face, bam, you're dead, don't exactly sound like the kinds of interactions that people would say, oh yes, I now feel like I am closer and more warmly associated with other people. Maybe that's not what goes on. I don't know. But you should have provided some examples and some proof on that particular point. It seems to me like it's a pretty big assertion. And I give you the polite versions of it. I'm sure that there's a lot more graphic descriptions in some of those things. Again, not having been a player, I can't say for sure. I just hear rumors. All right. On the evidence, there's a little bit of inconsistency. Sometimes you make a lot of assertions, and then a couple of places you refer to examples, but you don't give us a source citation for those examples. The 6-year-old story, I'm not sure if I heard that before or if it's because I read your outline before that I remember seeing it. I think I may have heard it in another speech too, though. Because I get these kinds of speeches all the time. So we should get a source citation on that. The notion that the 6-year-old, for example, did this and experts afterwards said it was because of the video game that they played, that sounds like something that we need to have a direct quote on, and we need to know who these experts are who determined that that's what made that 6-year-old capable of driving the car. There's a little bit more quantifiable information cited on the economic benefits because of the sales, because of the amount of money that's generated. The argument about jobs, though, that number is really just about how much money was paid in benefits, not necessarily describing jobs. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't jobs, there probably are, but it's awfully hard to measure given what you're talking about. And, by the way, are those jobs that are beneficial to this particular social system as opposed to some other social system. I don't know where all those jobs are coming from. Are they, do we have 10 million people being employed in Korea and India who are doing this kind of programming and designing, or do we get 100,000 programming jobs here in California because of this? I don't know. And that's where you need to have, like I said, some more detailed information. I know the one statistic was about California, the payroll thing. Not the payroll, but the benefits. It was like 1.8 billion or something like that. Yeah, that was specific, but it doesn't say what the number of jobs is. All right. The third point. It sounds like you've got an example or maybe a piece of testimony, but I didn't really hear a source citation on most of that. There was one that came from the hospital that you talked about. That I thought was pretty good. But then there was some other information about leukemia patients and a guy named Kyle who quit heroin. And I have no doubt that all kinds of things might help people through. But that this is something that we can generalize from. I think we need a little bit more data on that. The examples are a good starting point, but you need some data to back it up, some statistical information, or at least an authority who also believes those kinds of things. All right, thank you.